December the 5th, 2025. Guys, another little cold, rainy day here in the south, but it's not windy, so it's not too bad. You got to have water or nothing happens, right? So not going to complain. We are at 42, feels like 41 right now. So that's all good. When it's this temperature, you can't hardly get the 11 dogs in. They love it outside. The colder it gets, the more they stay out. They have full access to the house, doggy door coming in on the deck and all of that. Right now, they're out laying around after running, digging in the driveway and chasing each other and trying to wrestle each other down. They're kind of settling down. So anyway, it's a good day. Thank y'all for the help. It's made a big difference already. Tina has got the order in with the company most of you are probably familiar with Chewy, for 3 months worth of enough medicine for all three, the flea and tick and all of that heartworm stuff, all of that for the next 3 months. And that's a lot with 11 dogs. Also food orders coming in, and then we get the dog food from here locally. So in a few days, I'm going to get it together and take my old pickup into town. It's a farm store there that has a very good brand of food and has the big bag, so I'm going to load the truck up. And what that does, if something does happen, it takes a lot of pressure off of Tina here. So, but anyway, we're setting up a different doctor, a different heart doctor now, waiting for a call back. I'll have to go up to Jackson, Mississippi, and go from there with this. I'm trying to avoid the nightmare of an emergency room visit. You guys know that if you've had to deal with stuff like this or anything that requires an emergency room, and you've got an hour or so ride in the back of an ambulance, and then maybe 2 hours in the waiting room, and by then you're going to be about dead anyway, if not stressed to death. So if you can avoid it, do. If you can't, don't. Anyway, thank y'all very much. God bless every one of you. Now, what we're looking at here is something that is very important. My motto has been this year that the Democrats are the largest international terrorist organization on the planet. They have far-reaching results all the way to Ukraine, many other places. Playing like that. And look at the smirk on what they're calling the Seditious Six. So this video is about the takedown of the Democrats. And what's amazing to me is more and more of the prominent reporters, even on YouTube, some of the big channels, the lawyers and doctors and stuff like that, are now saying it's going to be necessary to remove them. The Somalis and the Afghans are nothing compared to these demons from hell that you're looking at. Look at that. Anyway, they got busted. Maybe that's why they were scrambling so hard to hide everything and stop it. And maybe the illegal orders that they were at first claimed that if Trump getting it, first they said disobey any illegal orders, talking to the military. And you got a lot of military CIA right in this picture. And so what was happening was they were hiding this that we're going to read. And I think this was what they were worried about their illegal order, any illegal order. They're going to claim it's illegal when they get the handcuffs on. And so they're hoping for some type of military coup. Other people are calling for that also on the Democratic side. But what these demons have done, guys, they've been busted in a massive money laundering allegations, all going to not just these six, but most of the Democrats. Millions of dollars hidden, fake names, 10 contributions a day from the same people. Millions we got the information here. And so that's what when they get locked up, they're going to say, Trump is locking us up. It's a political retaliation. No, it's not. You're crooks and demons and thieves and liars and cheats and evil. That's what's happening. Now, it's kind of going down on a couple fronts at the same time. Let's read a little bit more about this. And they know they're in trouble. They are on their last dying gasp, and they're going to reach out and do anything they have to or think they can, and that they think they can get away with. But it says it now appears that the 6 lawmakers have been found to have been heavily involved in money laundering. Investigative reporter, citizen journalist Bob Cushman has just released an FEC data analysis that strongly suggests that Kelly, Lisa Slotkin, Jason Crow, Chris Deluzio, Chrissy Houlihan, and Maggie Goodlander have been recipients of illegally laundered campaign funds, millions of dollars. In the initial investigation, Cushman cites 22 Smurf examples, and what he's talking about, I think, as Smurfs is just, it's one thing that we're seeing in the report is this. They're doing it under other people's names, like people 70, 80 years old, and the people that are getting their name used don't even know what's happening. And that's kind of what they're talking about, the smurfing, I think. We'll look at that. It says, again, in the initial investigation, Cushman cites 22 Smurf examples that have allegedly contributed almost $3 million in more than 95,000 separate donations to Democratic coffers. The reason it's that many is to keep it below a certain level. All 6 members of the Seditious 6 have received funds from one or more of these Smurfs. Now, guys, it's not just those 6, but since they wanted to run their mouth, they're being highlighted. It needs to be stated that current thinking about the massive money laundering involving Act Blue, remember they have been behind the Democrats forever, is that the identities of the Smurfs have been hijacked and that the actual persons have no awareness of the illegal use of their identities. Live interviews by James O'Keefe, you know him from Veritas, Charlie LaDuff, and Bob Cushman have shown the lack of awareness of these victims of identity theft. That's how crooked these demons are. Evil. In a very informative news discussion between Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Charlie LaDuff and a campaign strategist, Jason Rowe, of YouTube, it was stated that Act Blue has allegedly received over $16 billion since 2004. That's taxpayer money in many cases. And donations. And I wonder how much Soros and his son are involved in that. It's been revealed that several senior members of Act Blue have quickly resigned since allegations of fraud have come forward, and several federal investigations have begun in 2025 since they began just this year. He said the activity is fraud. This activity is money laundering. This activity is funneling money from outside the U.S. also, that Republicans are now outraising Democrats for the first time in a decade. Even they're doing all of that, but they're getting busted. People are quitting Act Blue. They know they more than likely have a warrant for them pretty soon. Whether anybody gets locked up, we will see. But they've got to stop the Democrats. And below, we're going to look at this. I'm going to pull up a little chart just to give you an idea of what they have found so far. It's kind of like a Doge thing. But it was the 6 of them, plus other Democrats, in this money laundering scheme. And they want to cry foul. That's some pretty sorry people. You know what? Now, this list looks like something from Doge, but the title right here, and there's several pages of different people, all of the Seditious 6, but Mark Kelly alone has several pages. But then it says Mark Kelly Smurfs, again, the people that they were using their ID and everything else unknowing to the people to do this, to hide their own crimes. But these names, David Hutton and the city, those are real people, real places that had, once they were interviewed, had no idea what was going on. But from David Hutton, supposedly, California, 344,000 total donations. He was 71 years old, but these people have nothing to do with it. Now over here it says the Seditious 6 usage of money laundering smurfs, Mark Kelly, Elisa Slotkin, Jason Crow, Chris DeLuzio, Chrissy Houlihan, and Maggie Goodlander. Has an X across that for David Hutton of the 344,000. Then there's a couple places. Mark Kelly's on every one of them, by the way. Look at this. Elisa Slotkin didn't miss much. Just look at it. You can see from here, but it goes on that these are 22 examples and are just a small sample of many thousands used by these 6 people. Now, David Hutton, again, the fellow just doesn't know anything about it. Paso Robles, California. Look over here. Senator Warren Committee donation. White House, Dan from Night Court. Will Rollins. Look at that. Earmarked for contributions. And this just goes on and on, guys, of the different people in the Democratic Party that were taking illegal funding. Now, if this can't be used to take them down, then I don't know what will happen. But we do know that, again, Texas was allowed by the Supreme Court to keep their new, what everybody was calling gerrymandering, or which they call redistricting. That's going to be allowed to be held by the Supreme Court. So that will allow just about any other state to do it. And we're going to have Democrats doing it, Republicans. But the Democrats have to be stopped. What is it going to take, guys? I'd like to hear that in the comments. Now, and I was looking through, I'm not going to read all of these pages. There's several. Act Blue and other people like that were involved in moving the donations. But here, look at 2 sticking out. Val Demings. We all know who Warnock from Georgia is, right? And their Smurf was Daphne Sanderson. Kate May right there. Look at that. She had no idea. Thank you, Raphael Warnock and Val Demings, for being so crooked and getting busted. Look at this. Again, the Democrats. Ilhan Omar, she's linked to a massive $1 billion Somali fraud scheme revealed. And there's information in the article that talks about there was a restaurant used there in Minneapolis for the meetings, the parties they call them. The money changed hands. The restaurant operator was heavily involved in it, taking a lot of money himself also. But it says, again, massive $1 billion Somali fraud scheme. We've been hearing about it. That's why you got ICE going in there. You got the DOJ, people looking at all of this, and people like these reporters now calling out the fraud. And I mentioned before that ICE is in Minneapolis. Now, are they already getting people talking? I don't know. But they're saying she has a glaring tie to the $1 billion Somali food fraud scam in Minnesota. 70 members of the Somali community in Minnesota were involved in stealing $250 million in COVID funds that were intended to feed children. Evil. It says millions of dollars were stolen from the American taxpayers and sent overseas to Somalia, and 80% of the money has not been recovered. We'll never get that back. They got to go. The Democrats have got to go with them. 7 defendants were tried in connection with the scheme on charges related to stealing more than $40 million in taxpayer funds, and 5 were found guilty. However, the FBI is still investigating an attempt by a Somali woman to bribe one of the jurors with $120,000 in cash, more of our taxpayer money. However, the fraud extends deeper, with multiple schemes of this nature occurring over the last 5 years. So all of the screaming, moaning, crying, and whining is coming from people that know they're in deep trouble. Again, my hope, and if it's the last thing I see, is that the Democrats are taken down and the nation becomes whole again. It's not going to do it as long as half the people here are demonic. They are demonic. It's a spiritual battle. We were told it would be, and if you don't understand who the Kenites are, maybe you don't realize how true what I'm saying is. Kenites, sons of Cain. They're in power. They've been in power since the captives were released out of Babylon. When they went in, guys, the Levitical priesthood was in charge of the Jewish people as far as they were the lawgivers, the priest. But when they came out of captivity, it was Cain's children, the Kenites, that had now taken over the jobs of the church, the scribes and all of that. Scribes and the Pharisees were now Kenites. They have been in place since that time. They're in place now. In spiritual battle, and weekend's coming up. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but they've got the evidence piling up now to actually take the entire structure of the Democratic Party apart. When you take the top 20, 30 out, it's over. But we're watching, guys, again. Thank y'all for the help. The links for that will be below this. But we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.